I used to count the hours I was allowed to exist in my father's world. 1 hour at the end of every month, 12 hours a year. The same way someone tracks visiting rights to a museum they don't belong in. He'd show up in his polished car, step out smelling like expensive guilt, and call me son like it was a word he borrowed just for the afternoon. He had a wife, the one who permitted my existence on a schedule, and 3 legitimate children. 2 sons, 1 daughter. I was the reminder of a night he should have erased. Yesterday was my 18th birthday. He came with a smile that felt like business, not love. He said, "You're my last hope, son." He told me his other boys had failed him, that they'd wasted English lessons, drowned in whiskey, and forgotten what responsibility sounds like. Then he looked at me like I was his redemption, like the bastard finally had a purpose. I stared back and said, "So, I was good enough to be hidden for 18 years, but now that your real son's messed up, I'm your backup plan?" He looked wounded, not because of what I said, but because he couldn't control the narrative anymore. He said, "You'll understand when you're married, when you're older. Life means compromise." I wanted to tell him life meant consequence. That compromise doesn't come at the expense of your own child. But I didn't. I just nodded and thought, if I ever become a father, I'll never schedule love like a meeting. People say time heals. But time didn't heal what he broke, it only made the math clear. 18 years. 15 days worth of hours spent with my father. A lifetime measured in leftovers. I learned one thing that day: love that comes with conditions isn't love. It's ownership. If you've ever been someone's afterthought, someone's just in case, you'll understand the silence that follows those words. It's not anger. It's realization. The kind that makes your chest ache and your breath shake. And before I go further, if stories like this make you feel something, if they remind you of your own hidden hours, help me reach 1,000 subscribers. Because stories like these deserve to be heard, not hidden. My mother always said that when you give life, a part of you leaves with it. But my mom didn't just give life, she tried to take it back. When my son was born, she became something else. Not the mother I knew, the one who taught me to braid my hair and hum through sadness, but someone obsessed with being the center again. She bought cribs, clothes, bottles, all duplicates of mine, and said, "He'll stay with me on weekends. You'll get some rest." It sounded like help, but felt like a takeover. At first, I brushed it off. Excitement, I told myself. But when she started showing up unannounced, criticizing every breath I took, every diaper I changed, I realized she wasn't helping. She was reclaiming. The final straw came at a family dinner. I was holding my son, his small body warm against my chest, when she reached to pull him away. "You need a break," she said. And something inside me, that quiet, obedient daughter, cracked. I pulled back. "I don't need a break, Mom. I've got it." The silence that followed was heavier than the words. She froze, hurt blooming across her face, like a storm cloud. Later, she texted paragraphs about how I was denying her the grandmother experience. And my family, my dad, my siblings said I was being harsh. But here's the thing, motherhood doesn't come with shared custody. My baby isn't her second chance at raising someone. And every time she undermined me, my pulse sped up, my throat closed, and that invisible thread between us, the one that used to mean comfort, turned to rope. It's strange how love can suffocate when it doesn't know boundaries. I didn't want to cut her out. I just needed her to remember, I'm the mother now. And my child's first smile, first steps, first everything, are mine to experience, not hers to reclaim. People tell me, be kind, she's just excited. But kindness shouldn't mean surrender. Sometimes, the most loving thing you can say is no. I've learned that promises mean nothing without proof. I once lived with a man who promised marriage before I moved in. 5 years later, I was still waiting, cooking, cleaning, carrying the bills while he carried excuses. He said, "A relationship is more than a wedding." I said, "Then why does yours feel like waiting?" I watched him spend money on his brother's birthday instead of a ring he'd sworn to buy. And on my own birthday, I cut a cheap cake alone and told myself it was fine. But love shouldn't taste like compromise. It should feel like partnership. When I told him I was leaving, he begged for 3 more months, not because of love, but because his custody agreement required a place to stay. That was my breaking point. When someone fears losing convenience more than losing you, you stop mourning and start moving. I left him with his futon, his guilt, and his hollow "I'll change." And for the first time in years, I slept without apology. I thought that was the hardest goodbye I'd ever see until I met a man who refused to say goodbye at all. My father. The kind of man who carried love on his back for decades. My mother had a stroke when I was 2. She fell down the stairs and hit her head so hard it took her memory with it. Doctors said she'd never be the same. Most men would have left. He didn't. He changed her clothes, bathed her, fed her, every day for 20 years. His parents called him a fool. They said, "She's gone. Find someone who can be a wife again." He told them, "She still is. She just needs more of me." They tried to set him up with other women. He refused. When I grew older, I asked him why. He said, "Because real love doesn't look for escape routes." At a family gathering years later, my grandparents repeated the same cruelty, that my mom should have been left in a home. I finally snapped. I said, "Then I hope someone leaves you the same way one day, alone in a home, wondering why the world stopped caring." The room fell silent. And for once, I didn't regret my anger. Because sometimes, the only way to honor love is to defend it. My father taught me what loyalty costs. My mother taught me what survival looks like. And I've learned that love, the real kind, isn't found in grand gestures. It's found in consistency, in the quiet hours no one sees. If you're still here listening, thank you. If stories like these move you, the ones that remind us what staying, leaving, and healing all mean, then help me reach 1,000 subscribers. Because every story like this is a heartbeat in someone's silence. And you deserve to hear your own echo back.